year's theme is Black Majesty. You are invited to 4 virtual events from February 15th to March 15th. Visit womenofcolorherstory.org and WOC Her Story on Facebook and Twitter for full event details. WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. These 3 Black-owned stations are joining forces to host a historic, interactive, and multimedia contest spotlighting Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. The deadline for submissions is March 15th. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business you love. The 2021 Level Up contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, PECO, Keystone First, Thomas Jefferson University, and Jefferson Health.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
American business executive Michael worked with me here, and civil rights activist who worked for various civil rights movement organizations before being chosen by President Bill Clinton as his close advisor. Good afternoon, all of you. I know we are a little bit behind schedule. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and you are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. And so we're a little bit behind schedule, but right on time. Right, Pastor Waller? As God would say, right? So we usually have our first meeting on Tuesdays at 1:20, and so we're just kind of jumping into it. Do I need to introduce you, Pastor Waller? Because, you know,
no.
Okay. So welcome back. As fortune would have it, I'm interviewing your lovely wife tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes,
cool.
for the her work that she does with the sex trafficking population, and so I'm highlighting her as a woman of excellence for Women's History Month.
Amen.
So
Thank
that's
you.
pretty cool with her and Judge Lori Dumas.
Yes.
So I'll be working with them. So listen, we're just going to jump right into it, right?
Okay.
Lord, I had so many things to talk about. The Derek Chauvin jewelry selection, I wanted to talk to you about that, but I first wanted to start with the Philly Fighting COVID report that came out from the Inspector General's office. What does that mean for us in Philadelphia? I read some of the report. My plan was to read some more before you got on the air, but of course, things got shifted, right? So what does that mean for us in Philadelphia? And what do you know about the vaccine rollout as it applies to Black and brown people? Because Rite Aid, we just saw an article about Rite Aid giving $20,000 to white folks versus 1,288 to Black folks. What does that mean for us in the city right now?
Well, I mean, the bottom line with all of this, now I need to say I have not read the report, so I want to name that. But the bottom line, we know the health disparities, we know the gaps. You know, citing more information about the obvious, while may be important, it's not news. Right. We know what we're wrestling with. We know that there are systemic structures that cause us to be behind the 8 ball, which means we all have to pay attention. We all have to get in where we can fit in, and those of us who have voice need to call attention to the inequity. For instance, now that we expect the 1.9 trillion to pass, what you and I have to do is begin to talk about the reality that as this 1.9 trillion passes, about $1.1 billion is coming to Philadelphia. We already knew that the city of Philadelphia had about a 470 million deficit, so some of that's going to fill that hole, which means there's an extra, roughly, $5 or $600 million dollars coming, and we need to be asking the question, how is that new money going to impact Black people?
Yes.
Period. And we need to have conversations, and we need to ask questions of people in power. What are you doing with that money? We know that some of it has to fill in the gap, which is what the Republicans wanted to fight against. So some Republicans would argue that Democratic-run cities have not been fiscally responsible, and that's why there are holes. And so they did not want to fill in the gap for those holes. Now, we could argue that they're wrong, but the money's coming. We're going to fill in the holes of the deficits. The question is, with this new money, how does that help any of these problems that we have pointed out over the last year? And how does that address Black and brown business? How does it address Black and brown health? How does it address Black and brown issues that are impacting our community as relates to violence? I think we have to say, we know the money's coming. Tell us where it's going. And not just where it's going, but how does that particular allocation impact Black and brown people? And while I said Black and brown, I mean Black. And I think that we don't have to be ashamed to say, we need to ask some questions about how do certain decisions impact Black people, because we know the disparities exist. We know that if you have Rite Aid getting vaccines and very few of them are in our communities, of course those numbers are going to come out like that.
Right.
We know that they tried to get on our communities when they thought that the liquor license and liquor laws were going to change. That's when all of these pharmacies started being cropping up in our communities, because they thought that the state of Pennsylvania was going to get out of the liquor business and it was going to be privatized, and then Rite Aids and all of them would carry liquor. That's why there was this proliferation of all of these Rite Aids and so forth, and Pennsylvania never got out of the liquor business, and I'm grateful that it didn't privatize. But so we know this song and dance. We know what that is, and those of us now who have voice need to keep asking the question, where's it going and how does it impact Black and brown people?
So here's my other question for you. We need to ask the question, but who are the people sitting at the table that can be our voice? And I mean, I can raise mine. We can, talk about the things that are going on in the city and start to push and get people to open up to tell us what's going on. But who are the key leaders who are supposed to be or will be at the table, who should be asking these questions on our behalf while we're pushing from the outside in?
Well, in a city structure like Philadelphia, the first thing we have to know is that, one of the jokes, I don't know if you want to call it a joke, but in the city of Philadelphia, you got to remember that the mayor is a very strong mayor, and city council persons are like little mayors in our form of government. Nothing happens in a particular area of the city without the nod of the city council person. So it is very important that we have those conversations. It's very important that we say to city council, you now have a Black majority if you choose to work together. And so we have to say that. We have to recognize some of the good things that we have. And those are all good things, let me say, and I don't mean that, I'm not coming at anybody's neck. I'm just saying we are a Black city. And so we have some people sitting at the table. And in Philadelphia, the mayor is a strong position. and in the city council is strong. We also have to ask Dr. Height, how much money will you get, and what can that do for our children? But every time we ask Dr. Height a question, we also then have to ask parents, and how will you participate in this experience? You know, he's talking about a 5th semester. We have to talk about who goes to a 5th semester.
And that's for the summer.
For the summer, that's right. And what does that mean? And I think every parent is going to have to be honest with themselves about, is your child ready to move up? Tell the truth. I mean, with all of this back and forth, is your child ready to move up? And if not, it's not, hold them back. There's some things that if you don't get it in the 2nd grade, you don't get it. And if you don't get it in the 3rd grade, it makes transition in the 7th grade difficult. And so we have to ask those hard questions. Did your child get it this year? Do you need to take advantage of the 5th semester, as he's talking about? Do you need to say, let me hold my child back? It's not a foreign concept. And lots of parents, white and black, have done it throughout the years, because the goal is not just your child being done with school. The goal is that you produce an adult who is a critical thinker and who has a strong educational background. Those are hard questions. And so I want to be very careful when we're having these conversations. That's where the questions go. I'm not ready to say that any name I've just called is a foe. I think everybody has been dealt a raw deal starting from the top. And now we have to say, all right, this money's coming. How are we going to divide it up? Let's keep it transparent. And let's always ask the question, if it's spent over here, how does it impact Black people? And that's a fair question to ask in Philadelphia right now.
Agreed. So the 1.1 billion that's coming towards Philadelphia, is that separate and apart from funding that we'll be getting for COVID vaccinations? Are you aware? Because I have not seen the package yet.
So my understanding is, and I'm ballparking it, and that's my understanding, is that that's the share that's coming. When you say 1.9 trillion, about 1.1 billion is coming for all of that. That's how I understand it. And again, at the end of the day, I'm a preacher, not a politician. So I'm not totally sure how it's broken down. But those are the questions that we ask. Those are questions that you asked. And we ask for answers on that. But what we do know is money is coming. And if that money comes, we have to ask, how is it spent? And always, how does that expenditure help Black people?
I was reading the piece on, and I'm going to pull this up so that you and I can talk about it, the Philly Fighting COVID public report that was given by the Inspector General's office. And so one of the first things that I saw in that report was the fact that a good majority of the monies were sent to PHMCC or PMHCC. I don't want to get the acronyms wrong. And then they were then dispersing it to different organizations that could give the vaccines based on something that Mayor Jim Kenney said and the Health Commissioner Tom Farley. They admitted to the shortcomings of the city's relationship with Philly Fighting COVID. The group task running with The city broke off the partnership in January after concerns were raised over data privacy and the medical qualifications of the CEO. And so Mayor Kenney says, I believe the findings of the Inspector General accurately reflects the mistakes that were made, and I fully accept the recommendations of the report. One of the recommendations, this was written by Philadelphia, I just want to make sure because I like to give people 6ABC digital staff. Here is my question, because one of the things that they talked about was that we had to have more training, and that we had to be, more fair across the board about who gets access to the funding for the vaccination. They have a committee that's there. They claim that the committee is varied from different people from different walks of life. I haven't seen the committee or seen the names, but how do we then, based on what the Office of the Inspector General just said about making sure that people know exactly what they're doing, how do we get them to follow through on that? Because when that large sum of money comes, right, after they pay their debts, when that large sum of money comes, I am very concerned that this is just Andrea talking based on the things that I have been reading in these reports, that large pockets of that money is going to go back into those same one or two organizations who then gets to decide who they disperse the funding to. For instance, I was told, and I was able to codify this, that Dr. Ayla and group was sent to PHMC, and they did not want to work with them, right? They didn't know who they were, XYZ. And so how do we, I mean, we're talking about this, and we keep talking about it, but how do we get these large organizations that are $700 million strong to not be the ones getting the lion's share of the money and really disperse it equally amongst the different organizations in the city that are actually doing the work?
Well, I think in short, it's transparency. It's using the power of the press. It's using your ability as a journalist to pull out the issues. I happen to believe in the ability of people to do good thinking when they have right information and when the light is on.
Yes.
And what we have to do too often, we only talk about what we're talking about in the heat of emotion, and we never follow up and continue to keep a light on. I think in this moment, whether it's me in a pulpit or you on the radio or any of our other civic leaders, we all have to just keep singing the same song. And to the public, we need to begin to feel redundant.
Yes.
Because
yes.
It needs, oh no, here they come again. They talk about that same, because it really does boil down to some basic stuff. I mean, this boils down, you got 500 million. How are we gonna work out this $15 an hour?
Right.
What are we gonna do on fair funding formula? The governor has just put out his budget, working on it. We already know Republicans don't want it, but how are we going to speak up and talk about funding public education, paying a living wage? The same thing. How are we going to do and lift up appropriate questions?
Right.
And then in Black media, we have to ask the questions that seemingly majority won't ask.
Yes.
And that's the responsibility. And then creating opportunities for our people who do have seats at the table.
Yes.
We have to bring them back and give them the ability to acquit themselves or explain the process, so that we can be supportive of them while they're at the table.
Okay. All right. Hold on 1 second for me, please. I'm going to take a quick station break. WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. The deadline for submissions is March 15th. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st, where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business you love. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word, no, not the station, but this word, J-O-B that is, and our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Can you believe that you have 10,000 gifts? Maybe the pandemic slowed us down a bit to explore our gifts from God. Remember, we are whole persons, physical, intellectual, social, and spiritual. Yes, physical, intellectual, social, and spiritual. Discuss this healthy talk with your family and friends. Play some funky music. Pat your feet with joy. James Brown will do it. I feel good. And Papa's got a brand new bag, Night Train. Remember, try counseling or therapy to help in exploring your 10,000 gifts from God. When have you thought about this? A pandemic time from a loving God. Oh, you want to talk about your 10,000 gifts? Call me.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. You all caught Pastor Waller all unawares out here on the Zoom. Be nice. We are having a good conversation, and he looks great, and he sounds great. So listen, let me ask you this question. We've talked about the funding that's coming, and every Tuesday now, I want you and I to focus on where that money is going. Let's start asking the kinds of questions. Let's start poking and prodding, because like someone texted me and said, the Republicans have always been in lockstep with each other, even when they don't agree. We need to do it too in the city of Philadelphia with the Democrats and try to figure out what's happening as it serves our people, so that we don't keep having the same kinds of conversations. I also would like to see that city council and the mayor are on one accord, because you can see the fraction happening there, especially after Philly fighting COVID, right? Certain things were happening, and so they need to get behind closed doors and say, let's hang this out to dry and figure out how we can work together, so that when we're working with Joe Public, we are on one accord as we move forward for the city of this in the Commonwealth here. The CDC brought out new guidelines for people who are vaccinated, and I immediately thought about you, because they kept saying, well, if you're vaccinated, you can be around people that are already vaccinated in certain quarters. What does that mean for the churches in Philadelphia as far as you're concerned?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't mean anything yet.
Okay.
My approach is very conservative. I am not going to change my programming probably until the summer, if not September.
Okay.
While I understand that they're saying now, if you've been vaccinated, that you can be around other vaccinated people, or you can be around people who have not been vaccinated in small groups. I get it. I think we're in the third quarter of a football game that we're winning, but even in the third quarter, I'd rather score some more points in the fourth quarter. I think that we need to wait until what they originally said. We need 80% of the community to be vaccinated. We are at what 9% right now? And I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, get more people involved, and slow down. I know that there are churches that have gone back. I know that probably a number of churches are preparing to do something on Resurrection Sunday. I, Alan Waller, am not there. Now, granted, Eno's a little larger, and I don't mean that in a braggadocious way. I don't think that we can do that yet. And I quite frankly think that we should slow down and let this thing, let the vaccines get out, let the vaccines work. Let's get the numbers going very much down and plan for the fall when we can really get back. That's my personal opinion. I respect anybody that sees it differently, but there's just no amount of I'm sorry to a family that if we rush back and grandma dies, there's no amount of I'm sorry. And we've done this for a year. We can handle another 3 months. We're in the fight. So that's me personally, because there's still so much we don't know. In fact, they don't know whether everybody that got their shot this year is going to have a booster next year.
Right.
And they can't answer that question. We do know that if you get the Johnson & Johnson, you got to take it for the next 5 years. They said that. They said that up front. The Johnson & Johnson one shot, you take it again next year and the next year. So I think that we're winning. It's going in the right direction. We don't need to rush. I know a day like this will make everybody want to get out there. It's beautiful. And I'm ready to get out there. And certainly there are some things that we can do outside. For me, I am not going to change the programming at Anon before we see a mass vaccination at 70 to 80%, like they said in the beginning.
And that's going to be difficult because based on the numbers, the current numbers that we're seeing in Philadelphia for Black and brown people, we're not getting vaccinated at the same rate as everyone else.
That's right.
Why is it always okay for us to be inside the toilet instead of the handle? Why is it always okay for that to happen for us? And why do we keep accepting those kinds of numbers? How can we continue to raise our voices so that more attention is paid? Because even when I look at the FEMA clinic, I'm looking down there and I'm going, I see way more white people than I see Black people. So how do we rectify these things? And the mayor was saying, well, we need people to use their conscience. Well, sir, that's not going to happen. So how do we put protocols in place that will get more Black and brown people vaccinated? How do we do that?
I think we have to be supportive of all of the efforts. So for instance, like Ayla is doing a fantastic job, but she needs more support.
Yes.
And I'm talking about city support.
Yes.
I'm talking about resources, because it's hard to have it's hard to have those long lines and people standing in long lines and not have the appropriate support for them while they're there. And it's difficult to sustain that type of thing. So we need to make sure that every hospital gets involved.
Yes.
We need to make sure that our city government prioritizes this. And when these dollars come out, we need to make sure that we maintain that vaccinations and all things COVID are what we're focusing on. I'll leave it there. So we just got to focus, make sure that this is the focus. And there's something that we used to say in music and martial arts: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So when you're learning how to play a song, go slow until you get it smooth. And once you got it smooth, you can go fast. And that's the same thing in learning music. It's the same thing in learning martial arts. Let's go slow and smooth so that we can begin to go fast and we can get through this thing. I think that every time we see good numbers, everybody wants to rush and open up everything. And what I'm afraid of is that we are going to, now that we know people are not going to die from it, what we don't know are the long-term effects of even just having it, even though you don't die. What does it mean for a child to have it, get over it, and then turn 23? Do we know what that's going to do in the body? So playing with it by suggesting that it's just like a flu is not the total win yet. And so I think we just have to stay focused. And I get that an entrepreneur wants his business back open. I get that. And in fact, I would argue, before my church has to be the priority, let's make sure all these small businesses have what they need, because our community, we're going to be all right. We are worshiping. It's not ideal, but in the grand scheme of things, I want my members to know where their children are going to school, how they are making their money, and how their life is going, before I burden them with how to keep the programming of the church going.
Right.
That's come in time.
Agreed. So the last minute that we have, what's happening at Enon? Is there vaccination still happening there?
Yeah.
Food distribution, what's happening there?
All of the above. Vaccinations every Tuesday from 9 to 5. That is an appointment-only strategy for Philadelphia residents and Einstein. We do have food distribution coming up on this Thursday. Anybody can come get it. It's wonderful food, and I encourage you to get it. Then on March 13 and March 20, we have our annual Know Your Numbers campaign that used to be just for men, but we are also allowing women to be involved in it. This is the regular screenings, all the screenings, HIV, colorectal cancer, all of the screenings. You can come up, and we are emphasizing the colorectal screenings. So if you're interested, we need you to go to our website, sign up so you can move through the line quicker. But we're going to have all of the regular Know Your Number stuff, your blood pressure, your glucose, HIV, all of those pieces. It's done all outside, all in your car. And that's going to be on the 13th and on the 20th.
Okay, so enontab.org?
That's right.
Okay, and so, and it's for anybody in the city. Doesn't have to just be anybody in the city. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you so much, Dr. Alan E. Waller. I'll see you next Tuesday, okay?
Okay, we'll see you now. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Well, the kids are in bed. Time for a little grown-up quiet time.
What do you mean quiet time? It's your birthday. We're about to party.
Haha, funny. It's gonna have to be a you and me party this year. You know we can't have anybody over.
Well, your mom and dad are coming from Florida. Sis will be here from California. Oh, and a couple of old friends from just about everywhere will be showing up. They should all be here about now.
COVID-19 has changed the way we do things, for now. But social distancing doesn't mean you can't be social. COVID-19 doesn't have to keep us apart. Friends and family are finding new ways to be together, especially with how hard it's hitting the Black community. Vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we still have to be down with slowing the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Livelihood, WURD Radio's new initiative, connecting Black Philadelphians with jobs, entrepreneurship resources, small business development information, and financial literacy tools. Tune in to WURD Radio for our weekly livelihood segments and every weekday show. For a full schedule, visit WURDradio.com/livelihood. For more information on livelihood, visit WURDworks.com. That's WURDWORKS.com. In celebration of women, Michelle Obama.
If we want to give all of our children a foundation for their dreams, then we must work like never before.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Philadelphia. Independent Black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Just knew I had a couple of minutes to have some conversation and things, to say hello to all of you. And Fatia Abdul-Rahman is on. Oh my gosh. So Fatia, I don't know if it was a mix-up between you and Brianna. She didn't send anything for me on you and my lineup sheet, and so I am so sorry.
It's okay.
You're going to have to introduce yourself and tell everybody why you are a Black woman that rocks.
Oh yes. Well, thank you, Queen, for having me first and foremost. And yes, I tell everybody, I am the Parkside proud principal of Forest Hill Elementary School. It's a school located in Camden, New Jersey. And Just one, I call myself a servant leader. Wherever God is calling me, I'm ready to serve. And so thank you for having me. I'm ready to serve you today.
You're so welcome. I saw the article, and I please forgive me. A friend of mine died suddenly a couple of days ago, and I am still slammed.
Sorry.
And so usually I'm very prepped about what's going on around me, and I would have looked. I'm hoping that Brianna will send me the article again. But tell everybody what you did. Why did you end up in an article to get written up? I was so proud of you.
We all have a story. We all have a story, and like so many, I believe that the story that we are given, we can either sit on it or we can use that story to motivate and to empower others. And so I decided to do just that, to take the story that I have been blessed with, yes, the good and the bad, and to share and to let people know that it's not about how you begin, but it's all about how you end. And my story, the beautiful thing about it is it's not over yet. So it's still going. So I at 17 found myself as a teenage mom. And that was during a time where life was just not, it was against me. Basically, I felt like it was me against the world. My mother at that time was suffering from schizophrenia. It was very new to our family. We didn't understand this illness. So we had that, and I grew up in a very abusive home, and now learning about the idea of the cycle and breaking the cycle. It was just that my father was in a cycle that, we had to break. And so unfortunately, I grew up in a very abusive home. And so one thing led to another. I made some very poor decisions in my life. I don't regret my daughter, but I did find myself in high school as a mom, making those decisions that I was going to be the mom that, whether it doesn't matter how I started, but I was going to be that mom. And with that being said, found myself again at 19 with now 2 girls. So I'm raising these 2 girls, and I'm not with their father, and I'm trying my best because, I'm just trying to get my life together. And 2 years after that, I found that both my daughters and we were faced with an eviction notice, nowhere to go, homeless. And I tell people what the devil means for evil, God can take that situation and turn it around for good. And so I don't look at that time in my life as, one that broke me, but I needed to be broken to a low point so that I can look up. Because it was during that time that I remember saying, I can't do this. I'm trying my best to raise these 2 girls, and it just seemed like everything was just against me. And I remember very, very vividly, my changing point was when I went to get help. After we got the eviction notice, I went to go get help, and it was as if the woman looked at me but didn't look at me. I don't know if you ever felt that.
Look right through
somebody looking at you, but they're not really looking at you, as if you're nothing. And I remember her shaking her head and saying, those poor girls. And I went home that night saying, my girls could do so much better without me. And, I had tried to take my life before, and that was the moment. I just knew it was going to be over for me.
Let me ask you this, Ms. Fatia. I love your transparency. You're the kind of guest that I love to have on because right now, just your talking is helping somebody. In fact, you're helping me. Right? Because when we're caught up in things that are going on around us, we get this feeling of everything is about to come crashing down and we don't know what to do, right? And there's this level of anxiety. How old were you when you decided, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore?
Yeah. So I had so many moments, but for me, I was 19 going on 20. And that was it. I said, I'm done. It was either I'm done, meaning it was time for me to leave this world, or I'm done being this. And for me, it was both of that. I thought it was, I'm done meant I'm going to leave this world. But God had meant something else. I remember being on the floor crying crying my head off, with the pills in my hand, and my daughter, my 1-year-old and my 3-year-old, and I'm crying. And it's as if my 3-year-old, this wisdom, I tell her name is Charity and my youngest is Cheyenne. She saved my life that day. I'm crying, and she says, "Mommy, why are you crying?" This child is 3 years old, asking me, like, "Why are you crying?" And I tell this 3-year-old as if she understood me. I'm lonely and I'm broken. And she said, "Mommy, you're not lonely. You're not broken. You have me, you have Cheyenne, and you have God." And
she was 3 when she said that.
3 years old. 3 saved my life. 3 years old, and that was the day I'm on the floor crying my head off. And that was the day I decided, you know what? If I can look up, I can get up. I can get up. And I decided, didn't change anything. You know, my life didn't go and it was perfect, but I decided, you know what? They're worth fighting for. Yes. I'm worth fighting for. I'm worth fighting for. And I knew that this change, the things that I was going through, and it had to change. And so the only way that I knew how to get out of it was through education. And I became the biggest cheerleader for education. Biggest cheerleader for education.
So you went on off to school?
Yeah. So it took me a while. I wouldn't say it happened right away, but in 2001, I packed my girls up. My youngest was 5 at the time, and my oldest was 7. And I had never been to Alabama. Never. If you asked me what Alabama looked like, I couldn't even tell you. But I knew I had to go there. I knew I had to go. I went to a historically Black college, Oakwood University. And I tell everyone, you have moments in your life. One was when I decided to get up. And the second one was this day that I decided to get in my car, pack my girls up, and drive. I'm crying like, what is going on? I don't know anybody in Alabama. I don't know. I'm going to give myself 1 year, God, just 1 year. But he took that 1 year and he made me the woman that I am today. He gave me a voice by doing that. I did not have a voice at that time. I didn't have anyone but my girls. So I had to speak up for myself. I had to be an advocate for myself. And it was the best time in the world. Being, I grew up in a predominantly white school. So going to a predominantly African-American school and seeing the beauty of our Black people and seeing our Black people as leaders and giving permission to be that leader, it felt good. It felt like I was free. And, I tell everybody I went to school under academic probation, but it's not how you start. It's how you end. I finished with cum laude. So, it changed me. And I thank God for my opportunity of going to Oakwood, going there and finding my voice, finding this leader that was always in me. It just needed to be pulled out. And so education was my turning point. It's different for everybody else. Right. But for me, what saved me was the day my daughter said, "Mommy, get up, you got God." And then the day I decided to get into that car and say yes. And the day I crossed got my diploma, and for my daughters to see that, for my daughters to say, "That's my mom." My mom did this as a single mom. My mom did this, while we were sitting out in the hallway because she didn't have a babysitter. My mom did this. While my mom did this, the one who we didn't have food, sometimes we would pray over peanut butter balls. My mom did that. And if I can do that, if my mom can do that, then what can I do? And that's why I believe that we are all given a unique story. It's so that we're not holding it to ourselves. It's to give other people permission to do the same. Greatness is within you. It was always within me, but people will look through you and say, "Those poor children." But God looks at you and say, look at that. Look at what I can do with her. Look at what I can do with her.
Hold on. Let me just introduce you to people properly. Fatiha Abdur-Rahman is a passionate and dedicated educational servant leader who is committed to academic excellence. She views education as a way to defy societal challenges that impact urban communities. As a servant leader, Abdur-Rahman is called to serve those who experienced many of the challenges she faced and overcame. She sees beyond the here and now and recognizes the potential in everyone she's called to serve as an advocate for social justice, and that's why I'm so thankful to you. Abdur Rahman is on a mission to change the narrative for the underserved. It is her belief that education, equality, and equity can and will be achieved for all. Her motto is, no weapon formed against you will prosper. You are more than a conqueror. You will
win. You win. The fight is fixed. The fight is fixed. You don't have to do anything. You win. You win.
I can't even tell you. So it's so interesting. Let me share something with you. I knew, because I reached out to you, right? I knew you were coming on the show. When my friend Leah died suddenly, I'm actually wearing this shirt that she brought to me randomly last week. Thank you. I went into this tailspin, and so I kept saying to myself all week long, if I'm going to do this radio show, I need to be surrounded by people who are going to inspire me and motivate me. Did not know you were coming on this week, because I literally, my goal was to highlight you for Women's History Month about what is possible. You are what we call a thriver, someone who faces all kinds of obstacles, right? But understand that you're being able to say, I can't do all of this over here now, but if I can just get up and get in my car with my babies and go where I need to go under academic probation, if they just give me an opportunity, I will not waste it. I will leave my children out in the hallway because I don't have a babysitter, but every time I see my babies, I have to remember why I'm on this mission.
Yes.
So the place now, did you grow up in Camden at all?
So my father had a business in Camden, but I stayed in Camden. I grew up a Muslim, so our masjid was in Camden. So I pretty much lived in Camden, but I grew up in Williamstown, New Jersey.
In Williamstown, New Jersey. Okay. Yeah. And so you became. This article was written about you. Tell everybody about this article, and thank you, Andrea Manley, for this. I have a WURD listener, but it's almost like a third producer. She was like, "Here you go. Here's the article." So I love them to pieces. So thank you, Andrea. So tell everybody how you ended up in this article. What did you do at your beautiful school?
So every year, around January, February, I'm really big on reading. One of the things that I did with my children, and the reason why I'll tell you a little bit about my girls, the reason why they're so successful is because we did not have a television, and we didn't. One, because I couldn't afford it, but we didn't have a television, and we lived in the library. We literally lived in a library, and so reading was second nature to my girls. They would sit and have book club meetings. That was just what they would do. This is this teenage mom trying to figure it all out, and that's what we did. We lived in a library. Right. So I promote reading because I do believe it's liberating. It is it grows you. It makes you more, it gives you intelligence. It gives you freedom. And so I really promote reading. And so in February and January, we have something that's called Readers Are Leaders. And I invite leaders throughout New Jersey, throughout Philadelphia, to come to our school and show the love of reading to our scholars. And we make a big deal out of it. Every Wednesday, we would stop everything that we were doing and just read, have these leaders. I would have mayors. I would have people that were in politics, and people like, how do you know all these people? I don't. I know how to ask.
That's right.
I know, like, look, my babies need somebody to read, so come on down. So I would invite them. In this one particular time, I invited a journalist. Her name is Melanie Burney, and I always I greet everyone and I tell them why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I shared a little bit. I don't go into detail. I share a little bit about my story, and Melanie says, I want to know more about that. I want to learn. I want to know more about that. But let me tell you how when it's a story that you know that is not going to just touch you, it's not going to just touch a few, it's going to touch many, the devil's not pleased with that. And so the devil did everything, and I mean everything, to block this story from happening. But the beautiful thing about a good journalist, when she knows a good story, she's going to do everything that she can to get the story out. So I met Melanie in January. The article didn't come out.
Oh, I just lost you. You're muted.
I got it.
Okay.
That's how long it took us to finally get the article out. But anyway, so she interviews me. I share my story, and March the 2nd of last year, I get all these messages on my phone, and here I am, the front page of the newspaper. I didn't even know. I'm like, what? what in the world? It was so humbling. It was so humbling. But the response that I got when the article first went out, I got over 1,000 and something shares of that article, and people from literally around the world were reaching out to me, and I'm like, wow, it's just, I feel like everyone has a story. One of the things that I got an opportunity to go to South Africa, and the beautiful question that I got, and I start asking people this question. A man sat down next to me while I'm in this cafe, and he says, "What's your story?" And I had to think about that. I'm like, wow, that's a very odd question just to come up to somebody and ask them. And we all have a story, but we never know what our story is going to do to impact someone. So from that opportunity of sharing my story with Melanie, she did such a great job capturing it. I call her my Shiro, that she really liberated me. That was a story that not everyone knew. Not everyone knew that I was a homeless teenage mom. A lot of times they go, "You don't look like, God will change the way you look. You don't look like how you began." And so it really freed me. But the beautiful thing about freeing me, I hear other people come up, after just this year, I really just posted again just to say thank you to her. And again, so many people shared the article. And a young lady from North Jersey, she reached out to me on Messenger. She said, "You know what? I was looking for a mentor. You look like someone that can be my mentor. I've been through this. I've been through that." She was in a bad situation. And it's those kind of stories like, wow, God, if you can use me, if you can use anybody, use me. If that's why you gave me this story, if that's why I had to go through the abuse, if that's why I had to go through whatever I had to go through, let me turn those ashes into beauty. And so that's my goal, just to spread this story, to touch young ladies, to touch older ladies, to touch anyone, to say, if God can use me, if he can use me, don't look at this outward person. If he can use me, then he can use anyone. And that's why I'm really big on making sure that I carry myself like not the way that I used to look like. No, because that's the testimony. He will change you from the inside out. And he has done that for me.
So you have people on the Facebook page going nuts. Joseph Simmons says, "My daughter went to Forest Hill School in Northside Camden 20 years ago. This sister's story is amazing.
Wow.
Black women rock."
Amen.
And
yes,
this is they're just going on and on and on about you. My favorite neighborhood, Forest Hill School Principal Raman. Yes. Oh, this is so wonderful. This is, we needed to hear from you today.
Yeah.
How old are your daughters now? Wait a minute. I see you're a KYW Game Changer. Is that recent?
Yes, I got that for this year. Yes.
Terry Gregg is a great friend of mine. And so I did see you on the Game Changer. I watched it. I was watching it. So I saw you. Yes. I'm so proud.
My part-time job, when I'm not being a principal, I also have a ministry called I Serve. And it deals with the things that what I grew up with and my children, the trauma, being a single mom and living through the situations that we live through. It's very traumatic. And so one of the things that I'm really passionate on is just helping children be able to self-regulate. What I did, and I was just talking to my daughters about it, what I was doing was self-mutilating. When I was in middle school, I used to cut myself. And so many of our girls, they suffer. So many of our children, they suffer in silence, and we never notice. And I don't think anybody ever noticed that I was doing that to my body. And so what I do now is I give out these calming bags. So when you are feeling anxious, when you're feeling upset, instead of harming yourself, you can take this object or whatever it is that's in this bag and really self-regulate. The emotion is real. You're not going to change the trauma.
Right.
I grew up, I was sexually abused. I was also physically abused. I can't change those things from my past. And that's why I was trying to hurt myself, because I was trying to mask the pain that I was going through. So really teaching girls or teaching our children, when you're going through those traumatic issues, that you can can help yourself in a more healthy manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
How old are your daughters now?
My daughters are, one is 27 and the other one is 25. I had grown girls.
Your black just did not crack. You're black. I swear I thought you were in your 30s. Look at you.
Look, I'm young. Remember, I was a teenage mom. Every time I tell everybody my kid's age, I'm like, I gotta tell you, wait a minute, I was a teenage mom. Let me just remind you of it.
So listen, we have a caller on the line that wants to congratulate you. Woody, are you there?
Yes, I am. I couldn't even listen to this without being able to just say to you that I appreciate you so much, and listening to your story. The fact that you got through, I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate you and others. I would like, if at all possible, for Andrea to send you 2 articles that I wrote. One is after Donald Trump made his comment, African Americans, what the hell, you got to lose, your school's messed up, can't get money from banks, and you're being gentrified. So if, Andrea, you could send her that, I think that would tie right in with what she's saying. Secondly, the other one to Joe Biden, that also is one I think she would just really appreciate. So I'm very proud of you, young lady, and I just want you to know that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. I can't wait to read them.
Thank you for calling, Woody.
All right.
Call me later because I want to talk to you about visiting your shop, okay? All right, bye-bye. So listen, we're going to have to go in exactly 2 minutes. But
okay.
I had you on today because it's Women's History Month.
Yes.
And I literally just wanted to, we talk about all kinds of different black women. I have not had too many women from the Muslim faith on. And I reached out to Sharif El-Mekki and I said, send me some Muslims. They're a part of us. They are a part of our culture, and we just can't keep segmenting ourselves off, about who we want to talk to, who we don't want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw your story, I was so moved. And meeting you, let me just tell you what I'd like to do. When we get off this air, send me some dates where I can come and read to your children.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Yes.
I would love to come and read to them.
Yes.
It would have to be like on tell me what day, like early in the morning before I get on it. Thank you.
Every Friday we do Harambe. Harambe means let's pull together.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So every Friday we pull together. So I will definitely have you on one of our Harambe times.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and I am usually not on the air on Friday. It's the only day that I'm not on the air. So
awesome. Okay.
I am going to drive to your school.
Well, we're remote right now.
You're still remote. Okay.
We're remote
all right.
Right
so
now.
then fine. But then I will sit right here.
You can zoom right in.
There you go. And then I will read, and I will read as many Fridays as you want to.
I love that.
Because I am asking other people who are under the sound of my voice to reach out to you. So tell them how they can reach you and be readers for your children.
Yes.
I want you to have a reader every Friday for
I
the
love
whole
it.
year.
I absolutely love it. So I'm located in Forest Hill Elementary School. That's in Camden, New Jersey, 1625 Wildwood Avenue. You can always reach me if you're on Facebook, just look up Principal Rahman. Principal Rahman is spelled Rahman. Message me. I will always, my secretary, the running joke is everybody calls me because everybody has my phone number. But, just message me. I don't mind. We really would love the village. One of the things that we say at Forest Hill, we live off of love. Yes. Love simply meaning living on village energy. Mm-hmm. So we can't do what we're doing. We can't educate our scholars without the village. It is so important to have the village. So even in a pandemic, we're seeing our children grow socially, emotionally, and yes, academically. Mm-hmm. But we need that village to surround them and let them know that they're loved, that they're loved.
I am going to read to them some Jamaican folklore stories.
Oh, I love that.
Nancy. And so, yes, I want to teach them about a different culture, but through the story of a
spider. Love it. Love it.
Spider. Okay, so just reach out to me and we'll do that. Thank you so much, Fatia
Thank you.
Abdul-Rahman.
This was fun. Thank you so much.
Yes, my sister. It was a pleasure talking to you. Hug up on the babies. Congratulations for everything that you have done. And you always knew that your circumstances where you start was not where you were going to end up.
Yes,
and so for that, we salute you for Women's History Month and
beyond. Thank you. And I want to end off, I leave with these words and I would leave everyone, whatever you do it so well that no one else can do it better. Why? Because you were born to win. So go out, be awesome, be amazing, be all that and some, but don't ever forget to be a winner. Have a blessed one, everyone. Bye. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, that was so good. That was so good. That was so good. All right. I have to take my next group, so let me do a quick break, and then I'll bring them in. And Reverend Joe, I see you, so I'll take your call, okay? You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's fire snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
WURD recognizes Black women innovators and entrepreneurs who are making history every day. Nominate a Black woman-owned business for our Level Up contest. Go to WURDradio.com for more information. Sponsored by AARP, PICO, Bank of America, New Voices for Reproductive Justice, Comcast, Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, Keystone First, and the Museum of American Revolution. You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. As Michael pushes in our next guest, let me take Reverend Joe quickly. Reverend Joe, how are you?
Good afternoon, Miss Andrea. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clearly, sir. What can I do for you?
I have some information for you. You were talking the other day about how many traffic tickets some of these young people are getting. Judge Times, remember, anyhow. She used to be the president of the traffic court. If you want me to, I'll leave her on with your producer, and you can have her on. She'll explain why these people get all these traffic tickets because they don't know the new rules.
The people get all the traffic. Okay, so give that to Michael, please. Can you give that information to Michael, and then we can start there?
I'll call back in and give him her number. You can have her on.
All right, all right. Well, thank you so much, Reverend Joe. Be well, okay?
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, moving right along. This is a hot show today, boy. I don't know. I see people I know. I see people I don't know, but it's going to be good in these Wacondan streets. Hold on. Let me just go ahead and introduce these beautiful people. All right. G. Lamar Stewart, Chief of the Community Engagement Unit at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. I could tell you his whole thing. Born and raised in Germantown, joined the police department, was in the Air Force, the Army, I believe. Let's see. Senior pastor at the historic Taylor Memorial Baptist Church. And all the things he's done. Lord Jesus. We'll talk about that soon, G. Lamar. And then he has with him all these wonderful people. He's going to have to introduce them all to me. Hold on one second. Yeah. So good afternoon, all of you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, so introduce all these beautiful people to me. Monique Howard, I know, because I actually inspired her to go visit a waterfall with me and had her walking all up and down Jesus Land. She was done with me when we were done.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
All right, so introduce these people to me, G. Lamar, and tell me what their roles are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, as always, for having us on the DA's office every Tuesday afternoon. As you know, every week we hold our weekly press conference where DA Krasner provides a gun violence update to the community, but also highlights one of the units within the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. And this week, just yesterday, at 1 o'clock, we highlighted our family violence and sexual assault unit, which is led by two amazing women prosecutors. One who's with us today, Assistant District Attorney Cheryl Yakalanis. She's one of the supervisors of the family violence and sexual assault unit. Her colleague, who's not on right now, Branwyn McNabb, is also Assistant District Attorney. But we also highlighted two of our amazing community partners, WURD, which is led, of course, by Dr. Monique Howard.
Yes.
And then the Philadelphia Children's Alliance of Philadelphia, which is one of the leaders and supervisors of that amazing organization, is Miss Vicki Melvin. So they're both on with us today.
Give me the name of Miss Melvin's organization again, please, because you're talking like a pastor now.
Yes. Let me see if I can turn my other voice on. Yes, so the Children's Alliance of Philadelphia. You know I can't help myself.
Of Philadelphia, Miss Vicki Melvin. Okay. All right. So when you had your press conference yesterday, what was the give me the general outline of the press conference, and then let me start talking to all these folks.
Certainly. So as you know, it's been a year since we've been in the pandemic, and you know, our family violence and sexual assault unit which handles all of the cases connected with domestic violence and family violence, as well as sexual assault and rape. They support and serve and represent victims within the Commonwealth. But much of the support is in collaboration with community-based agencies. And so we talked about that work and the work that both our unit, the Family Violence and Sexual Assault Unit, has done under leadership of Cheryl and Branwyn, but also how they've collaborated with WURD and Children's Alliance of Philadelphia to provide effective and impactful service to those who have been impacted. And while we know nationally sexual assault and rape is down as far as the numbers reported, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and we realize that, and I know that Monique or Dr. Howard and Vicki will both speak to this, is that many of the cases we believe right now may be underreported, particularly with children, because many of them are not accessible right now to mandatory reporters as they would be if they were in schools. And so yesterday we spent time sharing the work that they're doing, but also letting the community know ways that they can get in contact, particularly for individuals who believe that they may know someone who is a victim of family violence or sexual assault, or if they themselves have been a victim. We wanted to make sure that our institution as the district attorney's office, our hotlines and our numbers and our staff was available to the community, but also that the community would know that we work daily with community partners, such as the police department, such as WURD, such as the Children's Alliance of Philadelphia.
Okay, so let me ask the two women from the Children's Alliance of Philadelphia and WURD, what are your roles in all of this? How has your organization stepped in to help what's happening at the district attorney's office? How did you get involved? Monique, Dr. Howard, I'll start with you.
Sure. Please call me Monique. G. Lamar, I'm going to get you. I'm getting you. So I'm the executive director of WURD. I've been there just shy of 5 years. WURD works in partnership with the unit. We have advocates that support victims, survivors during court. We have advocates for the adult court and advocates for the children's court as well.
Okay.
Providing support, answering their questions, giving guidance and support to the family as well, and then any type of intervention that's needed. They are then introduced to all of our services and then gain entree into the organization if they need to attend support groups, if they need extra calls, we will call individuals as well if they need us to refer them further services, and if they need one-to-one therapy. That is the way that we get the individuals into our system.
Can you explain what WURD means for people?
Sure. So WURD is the only rape crisis center in the city of Philadelphia. We were named, so we're the artist formerly known as Women Organized Against Rape. We changed that name because we felt that it was not inclusive as our services were. And so our services are for any adult or child that has been sexually assaulted or sexually violated. And we got caught up in the woman. And we know that rape and sexual assault happens to anybody. And so we provide services for all adults and all children.
Okay, thank you for explaining that for us. And Ms. Melvin, so talk about your the Children's Alliance group that you're a part of.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I'm Vicki Melvin, and I am the Director of Programs, Practice, and Quality Improvement at the Philadelphia Children's Alliance. And so what we are, sorry about that, we are the only child advocacy center for the county of Philadelphia. We're the place where kids come who have allegations of abuse. They would come to us for what we call a forensic interview. And that's just a person who's trained to talk to kids. We'll talk to them about the abuse to gain the information that's needed to move forward with the investigation. And so we've been working collaboratively with the DA's office is a part of our multidisciplinary team, and it's specifically the Family Violence Sexual Assault Unit, where we coordinated all the supportive services for the clients. And so we don't just interview kids who have allegations of sex abuse. We do see kids who have extreme physical abuse or witnesses to homicide, but we primarily see kids with allegations of sex abuse and sexual assault. So we work very closely with the victim advocates at the DA's office to ensure that all services, supportive services, are provided to the family, whether it's referrals, medicals, referrals for mental health services. We help support the ADAs in prepping children for court and making sure that they are at court, and we also accompany them as well. But our primary role has really been ensuring that the investigators have what they need to move forward in any investigation. And if the case can't move forward, our role is to make sure that the family receives as much supportive services that are necessary to move towards healing.
How would a whole, there's a whole, I'm hearing a feedback here. How would a family find you for services? Who refers them? Is it from the district attorney's office when they get called to a crime scene and then they realize that there are children involved? Or are there ways that the general public can reach out to you and get your information, to get the children to you?
So most of our families come through referrals from either the police, from DHS, and even our district attorney's office to complete the forensic interview. And if a child has already been interviewed by an investigator, they may also call us to receive services. But at any point in time, if anyone suspects that a child is being abused, all they have to do is call Childline, which is 1-800-923-0313.
923-0313?
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm dyslexic. I think it's 932. I am. 1-800-932-0313. And if they suspect that a child is being abused and they make that report, all reports of child abuse come to us, to PCA. If the child is in the Philadelphia County, all those reports will get to us. We have a meeting every single day where we're reviewing all reports of child abuse.
So to Ms. Yankalanis and McNabb, good afternoon to the both of you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to The Source.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So listen, you all now how do you get involved in this? A report is made through the police department and you only handle these types of cases? Child abuse? Okay. All right. So go ahead. Go ahead, Ms.
So we have 21 child attorneys assigned to our unit and 3 victim witness coordinators who specialize in victim advocacy and 5 paralegals as well. So we have an amazing team at the DA's office. In terms of the child abuse cases that you were asking about, they are referred to us either from the police department or DHS. So a case comes in either to DHS first through a call to Childline or a police report is made. Those 2 agencies will notify one another and then the police will do a full investigation, and then when they're ready to make an arrest, they notify the DA's office, and then we take over at that point from a prosecution standpoint.
Okay, so then here's the concern that we've all been saying, and I've had some conversations with young people who say that the cases have been not likely reported because of COVID, and there are children suffering and struggling at home now that you all don't know anything about. How do we rectify that? What protocols are put in place so that people have a safe space to come to call? And I'm going to ask you this, Ms. Yankalanis. I think I'm saying your name properly.
Yes, yep,
praise the Lord, my hooked on phonics work today. How do we create the safe spaces for people to be able to contact you to get the ball moving? Because there are lots of children now who are not at school where the educators can see them to say something is wrong with this child. How do we rectify that?
Yes, that's an absolute excellent point. And there has been several studies that studied last year and looked at domestic violence. And in order to see an entire picture
you can't just look at the arrests and prosecutions. This study looked at hotline calls. It looked at services at hospitals and treatment providers and gave a larger picture of what's been going on during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this study, which was done by the National, it was introduced to the National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice. They released the report, and they actually found that domestic violence incidences have risen 8.1% since stay-at-home orders and 7.9% internationally. So this study looked at studies both in the United States and in other countries. And by looking at more than just the criminal justice process, looking beyond it, which you always need to do when you assess domestic violence and child abuse, they found that there is in fact an increase. So the way we respond to that is with our partner agencies. And we are so lucky to have so many trauma-informed experts in the city of Philadelphia. And to be able, we meet monthly, we talk weekly sometimes, we case conference to make sure that a victim and their family are receiving services, the complete services, not just going through the justice system, but housing, immigration advocacy, custody support. And I think it's really important for victims to know that right now you can get a protection from abuse order remotely. And that is something that a lot of people don't know. You just need an email address. So I do want to share with your listeners that if they want to do that remotely, just go to the website, Women Against Abuse, another amazing partnership. We have another amazing agency. It's www.womenaganstabuse.org and click on resources for people experiencing abuse during COVID-19. And that will have a detailed instruction on how to file a protection from abuse order remotely. And your listeners need to know there is no fee. You do not need an attorney. You just need an email address and to fill out the paperwork.
Lord, I love you all. Thank you. These are the kinds of conversations I like to have with solutions to help the audience as they're listening. I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I have a few more questions for you. But, ooh, that was all packed all in. Thank you. Hold on 1 second for me, okay? This is good stuff. I love this kind of stuff. All right, so let's see. All right, WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. The deadline for submissions is March 15th. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st, where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business you love. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I am in the middle of a great conversation with leaders. And G. Lamar Stewart in the middle of all these fabulous women. The two assistant district attorneys who work in the, tell me the unit that you work in again. The children, the victim homicide, what? Tell me, because I don't want to mess it up.
The Family Violence and Sexual Assault
Family Violence and Sexual Unit, where they have, wow, and I wrote this down, 21 lawyers, correct?
Correct.
Yep. All right, she said, let me just make sure, 21 child attorneys, 3 victim coordinators, and 5 paralegals in this unit. And so we have Ms. McNabb and Ms. Yankalanis as the 2 assistant DAs, flanked with G. Lamar Stewart, who is head of the community engagement unit in the district attorney's office. Please tell DA Krasner that I am eternally grateful to continue to have these kinds of conversations week after week. I mean, we like talking to him, but I prefer talking to you because you all are in the system. We're like really fully working through what's happening with the people in this city. And then we have Dr. Monique Howard from WURD, an organization that works with women and children around sexual violence. And then there's Vicki Melvin, who is a part of the Child Alliance organization. She's a programming manager for all the things that are going on, for all the services that are happening there. I need you all now, with the 9 minutes that I have left, and this is going to be a round robin thing, right? I have met family members who are in abusive situations. And they were told, well, you know, you made me do it. It's your fault why I'm here. Or they get kissed and made up. They cover their bruises. They want to report what's going on, but they don't feel safe in reporting, and if they make the call, they're afraid that somebody will call back to the house while the abuser is in the house. Does that make sense? So give me some general ideas, some general tips on what people can do, and that's for men and women who are being abused, because I don't want us to get it twisted that only women and children are getting abused. I know men who are being abused by their partners too, and so I want to be very clear about that piece. So give me some general tips, some general ideas on what people can do to secure themselves and their family members.
Sure.
Let's start with you, Dr.
Sure. If an individual has been sexually assaulted or has experience with sexual assault, they can text our telephone number, which is 215-985-3333, 215-985-3333. They can text that number. They can also go to our website, WOAR.org, WOAR.org, between the hours of 5 and 11 p.m. and get access to our chat. So they can text us and they can chat us. And so during this time, we've noticed that our chat and text numbers have been equal and or more than last year during the same time period. And that's because it's easier to chat and text. You can hide that differently than a telephone conversation. Our hotline number is also the same, 215-985-3333. But as you said, it is harder to make a telephone call. If you call us and we need to call you back or we want to call you back, we always ask permission first. If the answer is no, then we don't. If it's, can I just give my name and not the organization? So it's however the individual needs for us to contact them or communicate with them that's going to keep them as safe as possible. That's one of the first questions we ask. Are you in a safe place to talk?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Ms. Melvin?
So we, I want everyone to know, we partner with WURD as well. And so anyone reaching out, because PCA, we don't have a safe text and talk. That's not our role. But if they're reaching out to WURD is working with everyone, children, adults. So they will ensure that information about any abuse that's happening to a child would get to us. So we have so many partners that we're working with who connect us. And so again, if you are being abused or you suspect that a child is being abused, the number to call for Childline is 1-800-932-0313. Or you can call DHS's hotline as well. And I always tell folks, if you show up at the doors of a police station, they will make that outreach to us to get us in as quick as possible. We are working with our DA's office and our law enforcement and DHS investigators to ensure that children receive services as quickly as possible. So we are available after hours and on weekends as well, because we want to make sure that we create that safe environment for children to be able to come and tell their stories.
Okay. And to the two district attorney, assistant district attorneys, let me ask you this. How do you safely take on these cases if the stuff is not founded? What if you take, because, you know, we have to be careful not to destroy people's lives too, right? So what protocols do you have in place to really fully vet what you're seeing and hearing in front of you so that you can help the victims and make sure that you're prosecuting the right person?
Absolutely. So, you know, prosecutors have a code of ethics. It's very different than any other lawyer. There's a special code of ethics for prosecutors. And we ethically cannot take on a case and bring a case to the bar of the court and ask a judge or a jury to render a verdict for a case that we do not believe happened, or we don't believe we have the requisite evidence to meet our burden of proof. So we take that very seriously. And with regard to the sexual assault cases, the Special Victims Unit detectives that I work directly with will do a review of the evidence. And if they have any questions or concerns about whether or not a case should move forward, they always consult our office first. So they don't make the declination decisions on their own. They reach out to myself at the district attorney's office. We meet, we review all the evidence. We will meet with victims and witnesses as necessary. And only after a full investigation where we have all the answers, can we make the determination whether or not a case should be brought to court. So a lot of thought and effort goes into making the right call and making sure that that call is just.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. McNabb. Ms. Yankalanis?
And as Brownwood said, there's many checks and balances along the way. There's the police department who investigate the case. Then there's the charging unit in the DA's office who review the case. Then there's the preliminary hearing and bail commissioner that sets bail. And then the preliminary hearing is when they test the evidence of the case and if there's enough for it to get held for court. So there's many checks and balances that the criminal justice system offers. But I do want to go back real quickly to in-home strategies for domestic violence survivors, because there's a few things that Women Against Abuse will tell you are pretty key to know in your house what's the safest room. So if an argument does escalate, that in that room there are no weapons or anything that the offender can grab, and that there's an exit strategy, even if it's a window or a door, that you keep your cell phone on you at all times and wear clothing that provides pockets for that, that you have your important documents all in the same place and a to-go bag in case you do need to leave the house immediately, and include medication and food in that. And I think this is a really important one that we see sometimes in cases, is having code words with family members and friends. And texting code words or texting a phrase or calling with code words or a phrase is a way to get out that you need help. And if the offender gets your phone, which we see a lot, offenders taking phones from the victims and going through their phones, that it's something that's not very obvious that they are reaching out for help. So having code words is a really good strategy to stay safe.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, G. Lamar, kudos to you. This is a nice lineup. I had a good time with these folks. They knew their stuff, honey. Any last words from you? Because we just left you all in the dark.
No, not at all. Listen, I'm really grateful to work with amazing colleagues, both at the DA's office, as well as our community partners, Vicki Melvin and Dr. Monique Howard from WURD. Andre, we appreciate you giving us the platform at the DA's office every week to come in and to inform the community. What better place to be in Philadelphia in the 2 o'clock hour than the source of Andrea Lawful Sanders. So we appreciate the opportunity, aka Auntie. We appreciate aka Mother. We appreciate the opportunity to come on and inform the community. As you mentioned earlier, you have the opportunity to interview the DA on a weekly basis. But we also want to make sure we're bringing in not just the district attorney, but also our assistant district attorneys who we value, as well as our partners who are doing the work on the ground and really serving the people. So that's what we're here for, and we'll be here every week to highlight a different unit.
And let me tell you, assistant district attorneys and the partners that we're talking to, I am very intentional about this because I want people to get to know you. I want people to not just think of a name and not realize that there are people behind it that are actually doing the work, faces that if they ever have to end up in front of you, they know the faces that they can trust, right? Because they see them here. And in the Black and brown communities where the trust factor is so low oftentimes that they just don't show up when they need the help. This is my ultimate goal. I love you all, but this is really truly my ultimate goal, to put you in front of them so that they can hear what is true versus conjecture. You know, well, I heard on such and such and such a day, such and such and such, but you all are here. You're in the spaces, you're in those offices, you're in the programming structures that can help people to get them what they need to. There's jobs, there's housing, there's security, there's the PFA. The PFA is a huge one. You can get a PFA remotely, and all you need to do is have an email address. You know, there are places where you can get food. There's strategies of what you can do. I want to thank all of you, Dr. Monique Howard, Ms. Vicki Melvin, G. Lamar Stewart, Ms. Cheryl Yankolanis, and Ms. Branwen. I like your first name, Branwen. We'll have to talk about that another day. Ms. Branwen McNabb. Thank you all so much for being a part of this, and please come back. When G. Lamar says you're coming to Auntie Show, this is me. It's me. So you can come and tell me everything that's going on so that we can help the community, okay? Thank you for all of you so much.
Andre, if I can just give you listeners direct contact information, if there was anything today that they heard or questions that they want to follow up, they need follow-up or responses for, they can contact me at glamar.stewart@phila.gov. That's GLAMAR.STEWART@PHILA.gov. We can also contact me by phone at 215-686-9947.
689-947. I'm going to read all these things again when we get off the break to remind people of how you all can be reached. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a good afternoon, and I'll see somebody else next week. If you want to come back, come on back. We'll talk.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
This literacy tip is brought to you by AARP Pennsylvania. If 2020 taught us anything, it's that scammers follow the headlines. And AARP Pennsylvania wants you to watch out for scammers taking advantage of the biggest headline, COVID vaccines. In the early weeks and months, expect limited supply of vaccines to be available only to certain high-risk populations. So, when you see an ad, email, text message, or you pick up a call and the offer is to resolve your vaccine for a fee, know it's a scam. Listen to your healthcare provider and health authorities for guidance and ignore all else. This literacy tip was brought to you by AARP Pennsylvania.
WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. These 3 Black-owned stations are joining forces to host a historic, interactive, and multimedia contest spotlighting Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. The deadline for submissions is March 15th. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st, where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a black woman-owned business you love. The 2021 Level Up contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, PECO, Keystone First, Thomas Jefferson University, and Jefferson Health.
In celebration of women, Nina Simone.
I'll tell you what freedom is to me. No fear. I mean, really, no fear. If I could have that half of my life, no fear. That's the only way I can describe it.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Philadelphia. Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we had on the line with me people from WUR, Dr. Monique Howard and Miss Melvin. So let me just tell you, for domestic and sexual violence folks, victims, I'm all over the place because I see two of my favorite people, and I'm trying to get myself together and not even look at them right now so I can get this out. So if you want to, if you're a domestic or sexual violence victim, you want to text WAR at 215-985-3333, or you can go to WOAR.org between the hours of 5 and 11 p.m. There are safe spaces for you. The Philadelphia Children Alliance has a 1-800 number, 1-800-932-0313. The district attorney's office has 21 lawyers there, child lawyers that can help you, and they had some in-home strategies. You can actually get protection from abuse order remotely. You don't even have to go into court. All you need is an email address, and you can get it. This is some good stuff, and they gave some great tips, right? G. Lamar Stewart says you can reach him at g.lamar Stewart@phila.gov, and his phone number is 215-686-9947. Before I go any further, I just need you all to help me wish Michael a happy birthday. I know you think I forgot, Michael. So I'm going to, in my best Miss Lou voice, I'm about to sing to you, all right? Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you, dear Michael. Happy birthday. I sing along now. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you, dear Michael. Happy birthday to one of the best technical producers this side of creation. Happy birthday, Michael. You want to tell the people how old you are, Michael? Open up your mic. You want to tell the people how old you are? Michael? Michael?
Yes.
How old are you, Michael?
I'm 50. I made
You're 50. Well, say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. You made it to 50. Say it with your chest, Michael. I'm 50.
I'm 50.
There you go. Happy birthday, sir. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you so much, Andre. I
happy
appreciate
birthday
that.
now. See there? See? Have a great day when you get off the show. Thank you for working on your birthday, because you don't turn 50 every day. You understand? That's a milestone. All right, so I'm moving right along. I've said this for Women's History Month, that I was going to highlight women who are out here doing the darn thing. And these two are young. I mean, relatively speaking. Shut up, Sarita. They are young, but there are two women who are doing their work. So I'm going to introduce them to you, and then I'm going to open up the microphone. I can't wait. Y'all got the whole hour. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mova is going in. Listen, in these Wakandan streets, because Mova does not play. So here we go. Hania Sharp-Brown is an award-winning communication strategist and public relations professional. She is a creative thinker and innovative in her approach to create collaborative opportunities for others, and most importantly, can motivate people around her to turn their ideas into reality. A graduate of Temple University with a BA in journalism, Ms. Sharp-Brown brings over 8 years of extensive experience locally, regionally, and nationally in the communications field, with special focus on public relations, social media, community relations, and strategic planning. Sarita Martin is an entrepreneur, WURD radio personality, and motivational speaker. Her on-camera work for Ebony.com, Philly360.com, and appearances on Fox 29 Philly's Good Day Philadelphia, Comcast Newsmakers, and other local broadcast stations has earned her the recognition as the Oprah of Philly by Philadelphia City Council. After graduating from Temple University in 2012 with a BA in journalism, Sarita steadily progressed from blogging to branding to business. As a result of her compelling life story and transparency, she launched a successful crowdfunding campaign in 2013, which resulted in the launch of her company, Sincerely Sarita and Company LLC, and it is a lifestyle business that motivates people to empathize, empower, and evolve via content, consulting, and coaching. I'm not even going to go any further. Let's just go on and get right into the nitty-gritty of these here things, shall we? Good afternoon, my daughters. How are you?
Hello, mother. Where did you even find that bio at? Oh my gosh. You went in the vault. I don't even know.
Listen,
how to
I tell you, I have the best. I have the best producers on earth. Brianna found all of that. All I said was I want these two on my show. Listen, you are both in the grand scheme of things really relatively young. I met you both some years ago, and it's funny. I have to tell you this openly and transparently. I have had more Philadelphia leaders come to me and say, "You mentor those two? How come we didn't know?" Well, why you need to know? What do you need to know? So tell people how you went from young Black women to boss ladies, right? How did you get to that place? Because you are your own boss ladies. I know these things, but I need you to tell the WURD listeners. How did you go from young women in college, because that's where you met, right, at Temple? Okay, to boss ladies who are handling your business in such a way that I want you to teach other young women who are coming behind you what that can look like, right? And I want you to give them the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right? So who wants to start?
See how she did that there? See, that's what the little sisters be doing and stuff. Yeah. She got on her boss bestie sweatshirt. I made Zaria go upstairs and get mine, but I ain't had time to put it on. You know, mother, yes. Sarita and I started at Temple. You know, we actually shared this on our Boss Besties series last month. You know, we started at Temple as both student parents. And I remember, I always say to Rita, I wish I could find the email, because I can remember very, very, very clearly getting an email from her. At the time, I was living in a little one-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend and my son at the time, and I get this email from this young lady, and she's like, you know, Miss Sharp, I read your article in the Temple News, and, you know, you're an expert in, you know, resources for student parents. Now, I'm young, too, so I turn around, I'm like, babe, I'm an expert. She think I'm an expert or something. You know, because I'm just starting out, too. And I'll be honest, like, that literally sealed the deal for our friendship. Like, that one outreach, we ended up meeting up at, you know, some parent networks. And the energy from jump was just, oh, we about to get some stuff done. Mm-hmm. Like, it felt very instant. It felt very, I didn't have to ask a bunch of questions. It was very authentic. It was very genuine.
Right.
You know, our kids got along, you know, our significant other, like everything just came together. And that's my sister. Like, that's where we at.
Behave yourself, Sarita. All right, so give me your version of the story now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to even that question that you asked, because the first thought in my head was God. That's about the main source of how any kind of transformation in my life has taken place. But yeah, I remember sending that email, and I was coming from, to add some context, I'm from Pittsburgh, left Pittsburgh when I was 12, went to Delaware. While in Delaware in high school, you know, became pregnant at 16, had my daughter at 17, graduated high school a year early, always wanted to go to Temple, found out at Temple, if you had a child or a family, they would give you an apartment on campus. So that's how I ended up at Temple, was I found a way in, and myself and my daughter moved on campus. So I really was coming to Philly and to Temple with no family, no biological family living in the city. really chasing a dream. I think I may have came with like $600 saved. I didn't really have, you know, friends here in the city. So I was just, in addition to trying to survive and to figure out all of these different systems that were impacting my life, whether it was welfare, whether it was higher education, whether it was housing or childcare, like I'm trying to navigate all of this technically as an outsider. I really was yearning for connection and yearning for someone who seemed tapped into the resources that I needed and felt like probably other folks like me needed. And so when I came across her article in the Temple News.
So she wrote an article. Okay, that's how you connected with her.
Yeah, she wrote an article in the Temple News, and it was about, I believe, non-traditional students or student parents, because we hadn't really learned that term non-traditional student yet. But I remember reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's just like me. Like we got something in common. I got to reach out to her. I got to connect with her. And I was like, all right, this got to be a good email. I remember just kind of being nervous before I sent it because I didn't have a support system that was in the city. My mom still lived in Delaware, but, and by then I think she may have been, no, she had moved back to Pittsburgh yet. But it meant a lot. I knew in that moment that this needed to be the best email I ever wrote. And so yes, Ms. Sharp, I read your your article and yada, yada, yada. And we just kind of took off from there. And raising hell ever since.
Yes. And so how did you go from non-traditional students to boss ladies? Because you all have to tell people what the journey was like. See, I know some of it, right? That it was not easy. It was not cut and dry. There were some zigs and some zags, right? So tell us now some of the most challenging parts of your journey, and even how it challenged your friendship, right, at certain points, because I want people to see that these things just don't happen in a vacuum. Or even how we met. That was just the craziest thing ever, because I said, before I met you two, I kept saying, I don't do girls. I don't do girls, right? And Sarita just started Sincerely Chosen. I was her first interview. In the middle, she knew it. She knew there was the only way she could have done this. In the middle of the interview now, and she said, I just want to ask you this. Can you be my mentor? I gave you the side eye of life. And something in my spirit said, no, you gotta mentor her. So explain to people what the journey has been like, right? So that they can understand. There may be a 16-year-old listening to the both of you now, right? That's pregnant, saying, my life is over. I can't do this. That think that maybe they can't go to a Temple University. Explain to them what the journey has been like and the challenges that you've met along the way to get you to the places where you are today.
So I think one of the first times we really had to boss up was when we were trying to start our student organization. Yes. There was a situation that had went down with family housing. They had sent out a message erroneously that family housing was ending. And what that meant for me was that, as far as I was concerned, myself and my children would be out on the streets, because going home, for me, pridefully, was not an option. So it was like, I'm gonna have to figure it out. But I ended up creating this petition, and it got a lot of traction, and that led to the president of Temple at that time seeing it. And so she sent, and shout out to Michael Scales, who was working in housing at that time. She sent him a call, and he was in Chicago. And he said, hey, this is Michael Scales, head of housing, da-da-da-da-da. And I remember I just was stuck on the phone like, oh, snap. It got real. Yeah, it got real quick. And he was, asking in so many words he said, they wanted to work with me, but they needed me to take down the petition. And I watched enough Law and Order and was like, nah, bruh, I got demands. I gotta have some demands. Right. And so, I said, I can't do that, Michael. Like, I need to know, housing is secure, and I have concerns about other student parents. Like, this isn't okay. And so that led to a meeting with him. And when we met, he really broke it down to me and said, listen, the best way to get power on campus and to really get some, funds behind you, some resources, is to start a student organization. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? Because I'm trying to survive out here. I haven't even really gotten into the college experience. So he told me how to do it. And so I then was on a mission to try to find, I was like, I need somebody to co-found this with me. I need a board. I need this and that. And so Hania and I, that's when we linked up. Yeah, we launched Temple
Non-Traditional Student Union. And it was interesting.
So you were the one, you were the two that launched that.
We co-founded it, we launched it. I was active at the time with Temple Association of Black Journalists. And so I kind of understood from an organizational perspective, like what we needed to make this happen. And once we established, our stories were different from a non-traditional student perspective, but once we had already made the connection and I knew that, the threat was that my friend could be essentially kicked off campus, and that there weren't resources at the time for student parents. Like, I was going to Center City campus a lot. I didn't have classes on the main campus. And when I would come to main campus, I always felt a little discouraged because there weren't students there who necessarily had the same shared experience.
Right.
And so between that and then Rita going through what she went through, it was like, we have this shared experience and this opportunity to launch something that is going to help support other student parents who maybe didn't even know they needed this.
Right.
And so we came up with a name. I think originally our first name was like Full Fledged, because we were like full-fledged adults and full-fledged students. I know, when I look back on it, I was like, child, what was y'all thinking?
No, because I remember the inspiration behind that. The sentiment was that we were not looked at as being fully students.
Right.
Like that, even in the way that professors interacted with us, the way that they talked to us, the way that administration dealt with us, it was like somehow they didn't look like, we didn't fit the mold for what a typical college student would or should be. And so, it was kind of.
What year was this when you were in college?
I went in 2006. I graduated.
So this was about 07, 08, because I graduated 13.
Okay.
I was gonna say
you all just graduated from college. My Lord, you're young.
I mean, I'm gonna keep receiving that, mother. I'm gonna receive all of that. I'm gonna keep receiving it, okay? But yeah, no, that was the impetus behind the first name. And when you talk about the challenges on the journey, one of the very first, when Rita mentioned early, those moments where you feel like you bossed up, and sometimes it's an unsaid thing.
I see her.
A part of being able to start a student organization is that you had to have a faculty advisor. And so I had identified this woman who I thought, shared our experience, would be supportive of what we were trying to do. And I can remember me and Sarita going to her office. It was a pretty small office, and we explained to her, like, here's the organization, here's why, here's what we want to do. And she looked at us, and she told us that we looked like a bunch of baby mamas.
No,
and I want to be clear that this was a Black woman, right? This was a Black woman that told us this. And so it was in that moment, like, I feel like I'm sitting next to Rita in that office right now. It was in that moment that we both looked at each other on some line. Okay, you don't even know the fire that you just ignited and created. Like, we already had it in us, but for this Black woman to sit across from us and tell us that, it was like, oh, you done messed up now, because you don't even know, like, we are about to disrupt everything on this campus. And I'm going to tell you something. That is exactly what we did. We brought the first non-traditional student week to campus. This is the first time in the history of the school that they had something like this. We had a week of events. We had resources and support. I got to shout out, now council member Jamie Gaultier. At the time, she was running an organization called Mommy Grab. That set a foundation from a resource perspective of what we wanted the organization to be and to look like. So, that was a part of the journey that honestly could have broken us. Like, I know for me, from a self-esteem perspective, I was like, dang, that's what you think of me. That's what others think of us when they see us. But I just took it, and we took it, and we ran with it, like, literally.
So if she didn't
That was
say that to
definitely-
you, though, would you have been in the spaces where you are today? See, it's the tragedies, the things that make us crazy, right? That pushes us to the places where we didn't think we would. You may have gotten to the same space, but I don't know if you would have had the same fire underneath your tails to do it, because what she looked at was to look at you and dismiss you out of turn. And you looked at yourselves and said, oh, is that what we're doing today? No, right? So go ahead, Sarita.
I think at least for me, and I would likely assume for Hani too, if nothing else, that stressed to me or just kind of embedded in me the importance of speaking life into people, especially when you get into positions of power and influence. Because we were two, young moms, students, just trying to make it and really trying to take our experiences and use that to improve the quality of life for folks who look like us and who didn't. A lot of folks who were involved in our organization, they were veterans, they were returning students, for full-time jobs. Yes, there were student parents as well. And so that moment for me was definitely like, I will never do this. I will never say that to someone when they're trying to make a change or they're really trying to make an impact. And it was a moment that I think, had I not experienced that with Hania, sitting in that room with her, that it probably would have hit my self-esteem a lot harder, because I was already fighting that within myself. I knew what was stacked against me. I knew, these statistics and stereotypes about being a young Black single mom. And, I did end up having to get on welfare and, so that we could survive while I'm going to school full time and working these part-time jobs and stuff. And so to look at a Black woman sitting across from you in a position of power, and you're laying out your vision for how you want to impact the systems and the campus that you're a part of. And, she's telling you pretty much, you ain't more than what the world think you are, or the way that you're presenting yourself, you're not going to be received as anything more than that. It could have been more, I think, of a game changer for me from a self-esteem perspective. But going through it with Hani, it was like, oh yeah, no, we oh no, you don't know us, we good here.
But you're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today.
Yeah,
you got the right one on the right day.
I agree. That self-esteem piece was definitely, like it could have been a serious shot. It really could have. But, to Rita's point, I definitely saw it as, we in this together, so I already know whatever we about to create is going to be great. Like we didn't know necessarily on the other side what it was going to be. Right. We just knew that we were not going to allow this to deter what we had already set out to do. And the bigger piece was that we knew that our experience wasn't just ours alone. And so we knew that this was going to be something that was going to definitely impact, more people across campus who wanted this, but maybe just didn't have the time to, galvanize people to get behind it. Because once we were able to launch that, I mean, the support was really amazing, even from the administration of the school. It was really amazing to be able to do that.
So when we come back, I want us to talk about leaving Temple. How did you get to the places where you are? Because I need you all to keep giving people the journey, right? How did you become best friends? What did that look like, right? And what are the lessons you learned that you can impart to people along the way? Hold on one second. That's a whole lot. Write it down, because Mova's coming back. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, WURD family, Reverend Leroy with a boss good recommendation for Clark Roofing. I found them to be a solid business, honest, dependable, fast, and clean workers. Mr. Clark stands by his work. Call him at 215-365-7663.
Call Clark Roofing and ask for a second-generation master roofer, Calvin Clark. Clark Roofing professionally installs a variety of roofing systems for your home or businesses. Call Clark Roofing at 215-365-7663 or visit their website at clarkroofingpa.com.
WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. These 3 Black-owned stations are joining forces to host a historic, interactive, and multimedia contest spotlighting Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. The deadline for submissions is March 15th. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st, where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business you love. The 2021 Level Up contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, PECO, Keystone First, Thomas Jefferson University, and Jefferson Health.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line Sincerely Sarita, who is one of the WURD hosts, Safe Space at 7 p.m. every evening on WURD, and Hania Sharp Brown, who both are women. So in the interest of full disclosure, I am their mentor. I am one of their mentors, and they can tell you some stories, maybe not today, about what they've had to deal with Marvel in my kitchen. But I really wanted to highlight them as women in Women's History Month. We always talk about the women that have gone on before us, that are in their 80s and 90s and 60s and 70s. I wanted to highlight some young women, and I thought you two would have been perfect. And someone laughed and said, it feels like we're at a kitchen table conversation, and that's the way it's supposed to be, right? So you both left college. What were some of the bumps along the road that you ran into, and how were you best friends in college, or you became best friends as you grew and left college?
When we graduated college, because we earned those degrees. Let's make sure they got the record clear.
Okay,
every piece of that degree. No, I remember the moment where I felt like, no, this is my friend, and we were still in college. I don't know if I think you were giving me a ride home, and we were talking about something, trying to figure something out about if we had stuff in common, and we realized just how much we had in common. But the way we went about the conversation, it just let each of us know, like, okay, I like how you roll. I like how you move. Cool. I can rock with her. And I just remember kind of from that point on, it for me was no longer about like, I'm trying to build this thing with this amazing person who we both bring our strengths to the table and, are able to make an impact together. It was like, no, this is actually my friend. Like, this is my best friend, and we're doing something really great here in the world together.
And Hania?
Yeah, I definitely remember that car ride, because it was one of those moments where we didn't say what it was we had in common. It was like a look, and then it was a laugh. It was like, oh my gosh, like because at the time we had actually been friends for quite a while before we realized all of those things that we had in common. And I'm talking from family perspective to personal perspective. You know, it really was never a question like, oh, can you be my best friend circle? Yes or no. It was very it was very like, no, this my girl right here, and I'm gonna do everything I need to do to ride for her, to protect her, because this is my friend. Like that is literally, and it was always an unspoken to this day. It was always an unspoken, you know, thing.
So you all left college. You graduated from college. Let's just call it what it is, because you earned those degrees. You worked hard, and you earned those degrees, and you graduated from college. So what has the journey been like? So to the traditional and non-traditional student that's watching you, how did you become boss besties and boss ladies in your own right? How did you go from college to this place?
We took very different paths.
Yeah, I was gonna say we definitely took very different paths. I will say there were a couple of times in college and classes that launched the entrepreneurial spirit for both of us. I always tell Rita that I respect her because when that entrepreneurial spirit was ignited at college, she literally took it and ran with it. Like still right now. Like has always been her own boss. Always navigated spaces where it's like if I don't want this is not what I'm going to do, and I'm also going to create the path that I want.
Right.
For me, I still have the entrepreneurial spirit, but I interned in like corporate environment, you know. So for me, working in organizations was always just something, spaces that I thrived in.
Right.
And that's kind of where our paths differ. But then those also complement each other from the perspective of the work that we ultimately do right now, the work that we do as best friends. And for context, you know, just from a business perspective, a lot of what we have accomplished was really based in business. Like we've always been friends, but when we talk about like business decisions, business deals, whether it's me asking her for advice or vice versa, whether it's us collecting a check together or strategizing about a specific client, it really got to the point, and we shared this before, like where we would get on the phone with each other and we would immediately start talking business. And then we had to step aside and say, okay, so best friend moment, like that's, and we still do that when we call each other best friend moment, so we know we're not talking business right now. This is a best friend moment. I need to talk to my best friend right now. I don't want to talk to my business partner right now.
Yeah, I think when we both, I believe I launched Sincerely Sarita and Company first, and then you launched On Point not too long after that. So when I graduated from college, I wasn't quite sure what path I wanted to take. I knew it was going to be entrepreneurship. I knew I had a long-term goal of starting a nonprofit, and especially coming off of, you know, the organization that we started together. And so I found out about AmeriCorps, and I said, all right, well, let me go do AmeriCorps. I'll give a year doing that, see if I can get in at a major nonprofit and kind of learn that system from the inside out. So I went to work at United Way. I did that for a year, great experience. During that time, I was still blogging, still out hitting the streets, going to events, building relationships, all of those things. And by the time my year was up, I was like, all right, I'm running with Sincerely Sarita. I'm running with this blogging thing. And so that's when I did the crowdfunding, all of that. Fast forward, businesses launched. I'm starting to, you know, realize that I want to come from behind the computer, from blogging and writing and freelancing as a journalist to get in front of the camera and really starting to kind of believe and say out loud this big dream that I'm the Oprah of my generation. I'm not her, I'm Sincerely Sarita, but I see, when I look out into the world and I think about what kind of impact I could have or what level I could get to, she's the only person that's at that level. And so that's how Sincerely Chosen came along, because I said, if I'm going to make this transition to being in front of the camera, I gotta get my chops up, and I need to do that in a place that's comfortable for me. I got to do it on my terms. And so a restaurant, I love eating. That's it. That's where I need to do this at, a live talk show experience in a restaurant. And so with any idea that I have, immediately I'm reaching out to my circle to help me make it happen. And I reach out to Hamia. and she came on board. And between her and a few other folks, we started building that thing out. And it started to grow, and we started touring different restaurants in the city. We landed at Relish. And by that time, we were starting to like get it to this well-oiled machine. We still had one more stop before we ended up at Pub Web. Shout out to them. But I think Sincerely Chosen was probably like that time period was if not the only time that Hania and I experienced like real intense, just what are we doing? How are we really showing up for each other, like in our friendship, and really having to sit back and say, where does the business stop and where does our friendship begin? Right? And really starting to recognize, at least for me, like the importance of boundaries and how do we communicate with each other and what's your love language and all right, how do I show up for you? How do you show up for me? And what is that the way that we need each other to do that?
Right.
And so I think like that particular business endeavor was something that became really game changing for the way that we would go on to navigate our friendship and to manage our business dealings together. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think going through, and Rita and I have talked about this before, navigating Sincerely Chosen, right? Like by nature, I am a helper. I think many of us are helpers by nature, but by nature, I'm just like, my best friend called me. She said she want to do this thing. I'm not even asking a bunch of questions. I'm just like, all right, sis, I got you. Let's make it happen. And when we talk about those boundaries and how do you navigate and have those conversations, we hadn't necessarily had that larger conversation. It was just like, no, you said you wanted to do this thing, so I'm here to support. And I had launched my own business too, you know, doing public relations and communications with On Point Communications. And so it was still a win-win situation because, again, I treated this as this is my best friend, but these are the things that I would want to do for my clients. So it was a learning opportunity it for both of us, you know, in it for me. And it was the first time in our friendship that I felt like we had to have an honest conversation with each other.
Is that the one that you had at my kitchen table?
That is the one that we had at your kitchen table, you know, where we essentially had to, I don't even know if I would call it decide, but we essentially, we had that, it was like the soup. It's not called the soup. With the dumplings and the chicken. And, yeah, it was the soup. The soup just be making everything better. We had the soup, we had the Jamaican tea, and I remember the question of, you know, like, what's most important to you? It was never a question to me that the business was going to be before my friendship, ever. I never second guessed it. I never thought about it. I never thought like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my best friend. Like, nah, I choose my friendship because that I'm still going to clap and celebrate for you regardless. I want my friend. And what happened was here we are, boss besties, still doing business together, but it's because we sat down, thanks to your mentorship, mother, and sat down and was able to have an honest conversation that I don't think either of us thought about because of the friendship.
Right. So how did we get to boss besties?
So I want to say this. I don't think if we hadn't had that conversation with you, and I remember reaching out to you, and I was like, mother, like, Hani and I were doing this business together, but we got to dig deeper. Like we hit a rough patch, and I don't know how, like, I see us trying to have the conversations, but I don't know. I don't feel like we're having them right. We're not doing something right here, and we need your help. And I think that's definitely something, even within your friendship, you know, thinking about folks who are listening, like you got to know when it's time to bring in a mediator or bring in someone who can kind of look at things objectively, especially if you really do want to preserve the friendship. Right? And my thing was, same as Hani, I will not lose my friend. I will not lose my best friend over business. I'm not doing it. I need to learn. Number one, I want to learn you better as a best friend because I want to love you better as a best friend. If I learn you better and love you better as a best friend, that's naturally going to lead to better business. We're going to do business together. The business is going to be butter at that point because, you know, we really have taken that time to invest in learning one another. So I think that conversation with you really provided us with some tools that I would say still get applied today, and how we communicate with each other, how we show up for each other, how we prioritize our values in our business. And so Boss Besties kind of naturally came about out of that learning experience. And I remember us, you know, every year we do this, what is it, like a brain dump?
Brain dump.
Where we kind of review the year, and, you know, we do this real stripped down, girlfriends, got our drinks, food, all of that. All right, let's talk about the year. What you accomplished, you know, what do you want for next year?
What do you need help with? Where you need support?
Yeah, and so we did that last year, and I think the idea was we both wanted to grow out of our shell a little more, and to go to the next level. We were talking about doing that in our own individual ways. And I think it might have been Hani at some point that just turned and was like,
No, it was you, because you were pushing me to stretch myself. Sarita was pushing me to stretch myself more, because I am not in front of the camera person at all. Okay, mother, you be pushing me to stretch myself too. And she was talking about doing, you know, more live situations. And I was like, nah, you know, I'm good. I excel behind the scenes. That's what I love to do. She's like, yeah, but you need to, you know, you need to stretch a little bit more. And I'm like, no, that's your thing. That's what you do. That's what we talk about, know what you know and know what you don't know. That is your area of expertise. And that's when she was like, okay, but we just did it together. Like, what is your fear? You know, real question. And I'm just like, I just don't want to do it. She was like, well, what if we do it together? And I was like, sold. Okay, sold. Because when I do it with you, it's not work. It comes natural, because you are my friend and we know each other.
Yes.
When you trying to just put me out there on Front Street by myself on my live, I'm like, this is not really what I want to do. And those brain dumps, we didn't even realize it. We have these seasons that always come up in our lives, and for some reason they come up at around the same time every year. And we didn't even realize that we were doing this every single year at the end of the year, where we would do these brain dumps. And we literally sat there and mapped out an entire blueprint for the Boss Bestie series. And we wanted it to be something that, like you said earlier, Mother, it's not all, you know, roses and stuff. It's about the journey. It's about the rough patches. It's about the friendship. It's about the respect, which is huge. It's about the trust.
Yes.
Because when we talk about the
I
business,
wrote all of that down. Yes.
When we talk about the business, I gotta trust you. Like I trust Sarita, you know, unequivocally. When there are decisions about business or life and accountability, when it comes to holding one another accountable, I know that is a friend that I can call, that number one is not going to tell me what I want to hear.
Come on.
Also is going to talk me off the ledge, because I do have what I call my Obama angry translators, and you and Sarita are among those folks that guide me through that. But it just, again, when we talk about how it made the business easier, how us having that initial conversation when we hit that bump in the road, we never had to talk about that again. Outside of telling people that this is a part of the journey, this is a part of the lesson, this is a part of the lesson that you learn in the mess. And born Boss Besties, you know, and I think it's taken on something that we didn't even necessarily anticipate, you know. I mean, as soon as we launched it, it was a lot of great positive feedback.
Yeah, let me read something to you. Linda Shields says, Mom and Indigo are listening. Sarita is such a great inspiration to Indigo while she's experiencing her journey at Temple. It is not easy in these COVID times. Wait a minute. But Sarita motivates my daughter Indigo to hang in there and work hard. Appreciate you, Queens. I'm going to take a quick break. This is why I have you on, because, you know, we always talk about, we want young people to aspire to what older folks done did 500 years ago, or, you know, the past. They want to see, I wanted them to see people in the journey right now, doing the work, finding their mentorship, finding their courage, doing the good stuff. So hold on one second, and we'll be right back. I told you I was going to hold you on for a whole hour. Just hold on. This is going to be so much fun. I love these two people. WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. The deadline for submissions is March 15th. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st, where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business you love. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
We do all we can to ensure our kids are happy, healthy, safe, and strong. Having high-quality, low-cost health insurance helps make that possible. With CHIP, your child can have medical, dental, eye care, and more for free or low cost. Whether you're self-employed, unemployed, or your employee benefits are just too expensive, CHIP is there for you to help your child be strong. CHIP Strong. Apply or renew today at 800-986-KIDS or go to chipcoverspakids.com.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
You know, I can talk to her about anything, so to hear her friends.
Yeah, saying that. Michael, give me some volume so that we're not, again, I need to know that I'm not out here put myself on front and main. Michael, I need some sound, Michael, please. Michael. I can't hear anything, Michael. Give me some sound, please. Michael, I need some sound, darling. I guess I don't. So wait a minute. Okay.
No, it's still commercials playing.
Okay.
I'm on a Facebook live stream.
Okay, good. Because I can't hear anything. I need to hear when I'm coming back.
Yeah, I know this is a little delayed, so.
I'm on the stream too. And
we're back. She says we're back. He says we're back. See, I'm telling you, Michael. I can't hear. We can't hear anything. So welcome back to The Source, and this is why live radio isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Well, we're back. If you were just joining us, I have on the line with me Hania Sharp Brown and Sincerely Sarita, both who are best friends that I believe are great women who have stepped up in their lives as best friends and as business owners and partners. And we're talking about everything that's happening in their lives to get them to the place where they are today. Yeah, we know we all can't hear us now. Forgive us, Lord. We couldn't hear anything on our end. And so we were trying to get, know what we were doing. So we talked about mentorship. We talked about the bumps that you hit along the road. The last thing that I'd like to ask the both of you now is to give young people, and some of the older ones too, because I learn from you both all the time, some life lessons that you learned along the way that you continue to take with you. So who wants to go first?
I will say at the top of the list for me is do not compromise your integrity for anyone. That is paramount to how you move, whether you are working in corporate America or whether you are a business owner. I remember very clearly my very first internship was in the 11th grade, and I was able to leave school early to go to my internship. I was all hyped because, you know, all the other kids had to stay in school. But I was able to leave school early to my internship. And then when I started interning, when I got to college, there are relationships that I made as an intern that I still have today because of how I was navigating through those spaces and just being myself, but still leading with integrity. And I just feel like you cannot compromise that for anyone. And it's so easy to do it. I would say for young people and seasoned people, especially with social media, like it's so easy to compromise your integrity for a check.
Come on.
Because you want the recognition, because you want the title, because you want all of the things that can literally be taken away from you in a heartbeat. And so that is what I will say is my number one lesson, is just leading with integrity, keeping a circle around you that you trust. It's not enough to have yes people around you. That serves no purpose. You got to have people in your circle that's going to pull you to the side or call you out publicly, especially when you are a best friend, and then tell you, like, sis, your slip is hanging. You need to fix that. And be okay with receiving it.
Sarita, what you got?
Oh, so many. You know, the tagline for Boss Besties is that this business is personal. And it really, it flies in the face of the belief that women, and, you know, we're two Black women, so specifically Black women can't do business together, or that, you know, that there's catty, that there's this, that there's that. I count myself blessed that I've really, as a millennial, grown up in a time where I've seen Black women, I've seen what Black women can do and build in this day and age together. And so I would say that it's okay for business to be personal. That does not mean that the business must be conducted personally. Like, you have to, there's a difference between the two, right? If I'm showing up as my full self, if I am doing work that is aligned with who I am and what I've been called to do and my core values, that business is personal. You better believe it. I give a darn about the populations that I'm serving or advocating for, or the causes that are important to me. So that business is personal. And I do think it's okay to make that statement. I think how you go about doing the business, right? That's when it gets real. When you're sitting at those tables and you're taking things personally, that's when it's a problem, right? Those are very different things. So be mindful of those two, of the difference between the two. Always remember that it is not about you. It is much bigger than you. And I think that was probably one of the realest things my mom could have told me when I was smack dab in the midst of my struggle, sitting outside of a welfare office, wondering, you know, how I was going to do this, was that it wasn't about me. It was about my daughter. It was about other student parents. It was about every single person that was attached to my life, be they ahead of me or behind me. That's what it was about. So recognize that, you know, in any space that you're in, you are not just representing yourself. You know so many people, Mother. Hani knows so many people. I can be in any one of those rooms, and how I conduct myself impacts y'all. Right, and so that's something
and
that I have
never want to call from me. I mean, you never.
But that's how I am with my mentors as well. It's like, you know, represent you well. I'm not saying I expect perfection, but I expect you to move with a certain, you know, je ne sais quoi out in these streets. So, you know, act like you know and do better. So,
Beanie Man is going to show up.
Well, it goes back to what your parents would say. Don't have me out here looking crazy. Do not have me out here looking crazy.
Especially when there's spaces for you where you can come and have those conversations without having to worry about anybody knowing what those conversations are about, to work through those things. You know what I mean? And so it's very important, y'all, and listen to me, that you are able to trust the people that are around you. Do not hang around folks simply because they have name recognition or you think everybody likes them, because some of the worst folks are the ones who are caught up in their egos and are driven by what people say, and they're all social media, you know, everything's about social media and what people think, and they're always looking for the latest clicks. You want people, like Hania says, with integrity, people who are willing to tell you about your stuff without it becoming detrimental. You don't want to talk to people again, because if that's the case, then they're never your friends to begin with. And you need solid mentors. These two have solid mentors up and down the board that can help them in different ways and open doors. And they're now turning around and opening doors for other people to come behind them. That's why they're so solid for me, right? You're impacting young people in college. You're impacting young people in high school. And you just have to know every move you make, I start to sound like a police video, every step you take, every bond you make, every step you take, I'll be watching you.
What is happening?
And so, you know, for that alone, I want to say Happy Women's Month to the both of you. You are really in your space where you're women who have come into your own, that you now have. You are now the lamp unto the feet of those who you may never even meet. What is up with all this rhyming? What is going on with me today?
You're dropping bars. You're dropping bars is what you're doing.
But I just, you know, so just continue. And for those of us who are older and see young people like Hania and Sarita and all those other young people that are around their age group, don't dismiss them as people who don't listen and are hard-headed. Listen to them and learn from them the way they would learn from you. And don't try to shove your opinions down their throat. Ask them open-ended questions, because they're smart enough to answer their own have their own thoughts and opinions. Yes, honey, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I put this out here for all generations, because I'm really big on intergenerational conversations and connection. Vulnerability, please. It's a strength. It is a strength. It's not a weakness. I think, Mother, so much of why we have been able to have the connection and mentorship we have is because there's vulnerability on both sides, right? I get to see a woman at your stage in life and how you're tackling your dreams and taking them to the next level, how you're taking care of your family, how you take care of your community, and also seeing the, you know, some of that behind the scenes of what that looks and feels like, right? And that's important for me to see, because one day I'm going to be there, right? And I want to carry that with grace. I want to carry that with compassion and with strength and all of these other things. And so I think that vulnerability leads to better visibility between generations. So I really do want to stress that whatever age group you find yourself in, it really doesn't matter. Just make sure that you prioritize and that you value vulnerability, because that is literally the door that's going to open you up to be able to connect with other generations, with other races, with other backgrounds, all of that.
With other people. I was in an interview some weeks ago, and the person that I was talking to says, I am on your social media page and I see how you connect across race, culture, folks of all. That's how you want to be. That these relationships are not transactional, that in your own unique space, you're able to reach out and impact people beyond yourself. And so kudos to the both of you. Love you both dearly. Coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. You are just listening to Hania Sharp-Brown and Sincerely Sarita, two women we highlighted for Women's History Month. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.